We'll learn now today's Shir Tanya, which is the 2 dots on page Yutes. The Rebbe Alter Rebbe, this Pedic, has essentially answered 3 questions, which were at the beginning of the Tanya. First of all, the Lashon Zevaz HaShoiftan. Second of all, the idea of Hayei Ben Nechat Kerosh, that it means Kemaisar HaShoim means Beinani. And third of all, we discussed yesterday Rabba's mistake. Echta Rabba B'yad. Now we come to a new Inyan. And that is a point that I made in the earlier Shiurim, that the definition of a Beinani, the taich of a Beinani, is a person whose life is fluctuating and moody. Right? The mashal that I gave you of the rich man and the poor man, the tzaddik's life is tempered, he's always inspired. A Beinani is moody, he has very inspired moments. When he davens, he's very inspired and so forth. Perhaps to the extent that he put his nefesh habamas to sleep. But when he finishes davening, he's barely surviving as a Beinani. So a Beinani's life fluctuates, it's moody. And people whose lives are moody are called hafachfanim, which is a Hebrew word that denotes schizophrenia, inconsistency, which ultimately means hypocrisy. It's a dirty word, hypocrisy. But the point is that there's inconsistency. So the Alter Rebbe is addressing the credibility of the personality. How emes is a Beinani if, like, in the morning he's inspired, in the afternoon he's inspired for other stuff. It says the Alter Rebbe, the fact that when a Beinani davens, he's inspired and filled with a powerful Avos Hashem. Through the strength of Nefesh HaLekis. That when he's done davening, it's going to expire, it's going to end and go away, and he's going to be struggling to barely not do an Aveda. Says the Rebbe, Lagabe Madreges HaTzadikim. When you compare it to Tzadikim, who are Eiv De'ad Hashem, Be'emes Lamite, who serve Hashem in absolute truth, Ein Bechinas Ahavazu. This love cannot, Ein Bechinas Ahavazu Nekas, this love cannot be called B'Shem Avedas Emes Klala, service Hashem which is true. Because after davening it passes. Even the pasuk says, "Svas imas," even the edge of truth, is tikein laad, stands forever. Va'ad argiyo, anything which is a rega. Rega means temporarily, is momentarily, is lashon sheker, is false. So if the moods of a Beinani compared to a tzaddik are sheker. Now notice there's terms emes lamite, then there's emes, and then there's svas emes. What's the pshat that tzaddikim zavedas emes lamite? I would propose that it means tzaddik gomer. I don't know if it's tzaddik gomer zavedas called emes lamite. In page Chafis, you mentioned Abba Tanugim, which is the madreg of tzaddik gomer. But be that as it may, so the tzaddik zavedas be emes lamite, and a Beinani zavedas, since it fluctuates, it's not even svasam, it's sheker. So l'chayre, does that make a Beinani into a hypocrite and a phony? He's like, I'll begin nevertheless. The Gabi madregas ha Beinanim. When you're talking about Beinanim in relationships with themselves, Nikras Aveda Tam. The Beinani's Avoida of being inspired with davening is called the perfect Avoida. Now you should Be'emes Lamite, in absolute truth, Shalahem of them. Ish, each individual, according to his level, Madregas Abeinim and Madregas Abeinim. In other words, although in absolute truth it's not real, but there is a relative absolute truth. This relative truth, absolute truth to each one. So he says there's the Emes Lamite of a tzaddik and there's Emes Lamite Shalahem. The Emes Lamite of a Beinani. And compared to the Emes Lamite of a Beinani, this Avodah is Emes. I just want to make an observation. The term Avodah Tam is going to appear later again in Sof Perek Tesvav, where the Alter Rebbe addresses different techniques and levels of Beinani. Basically, there's 2 ways to be a Beinani. One is through his bonus, Moyach Shalta Alev, what we call the long short Avodah. The second is through revealing the Pintli, the Neshama, which is called Avim Seteres. In the Avodah of using your mind to inspire your heart, a person who uses his mind and he fully inspired, his heart becomes actually inspired and impassioned with Avodah Hashem, is called Avodah Tam. It's the highest level of Beinani. Alter Rebbe uses the term Avodah Tam. Here also he's referring to a person who's a Beinani through limud, his bonus, and revealed Avos Hashem and Yiras Hashem. A Beinani who doesn't have revealed Avos Hashem and Yiras Hashem. And certainly a Beinani who doesn't have limud in his bonus is taka a Beinani, but it's not Avodah Tam. Even a Beinani is a madreg of Avodah Tam. That when he davens through the moyach and the leiv and there's bonus and the Avos Hashem and Yiras Hashem, he put his head to sleep. It's also sheker because it's chalef as Yiras Zacharat Tefillah. Says the Alter Rebbe, but compared to the level of Beinani, it's emes. And now we have a very interesting thing. Right, but he's not constantly inspired. The inspiration, the passion. If you love the Yankees, and the Yankees have a back season, you still love the Yankees. Nishta say, how come it comes to the Eibishter, you don't love the Eibishter constantly? It's a really good kasha. You have a taiva from time to time, it doesn't work that way. If there's something you love it all the time. I have to sit there and convince myself I love Hashem. The moment I stop convincing myself, I don't love Him. No, so do you love Him or not? It's a very, very good point.
If you don't, fact that he does do avodah throughout the whole day.
Fine, but there's no integrity in his pnimius, in his avodah, in his ahava. You're right.
But that's
That
means he's not a Beinani anymore if he doesn't love Hashem at that second.
No, you're wrong.
It's a mitzvah to love Hashem all the
Fine,
time.
but a Beinani can be a hidden love. Ava Musatef is also love. If you love enough not to sin, it's considered loving.
And that's called
Alter Rebbe says in Tanya
mitzvah?
Perik
That's
Tezai.
here to the mitzvah?
Yeah, I suppose. Says the Alter Rebbe, V'hareini koire, and I call. This is the only place in Tanya the Alter Rebbe says the word I call. Sheba'avosam, shebetfilosam, the love that the Beinani experiences when he davens gamkin also, Sfasem es tikin la, the edge of truth which stands forever. Hoyel, because, now I want to say something very gewaldig. I gave a shir Monday night, and the fellow, the shliach who organized it, his name is Shneur, Zalman. He says to me that the Alter Rebbe's pasuk that he would say at the end of Shmeinah Esrei was Sfasem es tikin la'ad va'ad agia l'shei shoker. The pasuk for Shneur is this pasuk. He says, "V'ahareni kerev avos." That also means that the Alter Rebbe says every day in davening, I say at the end of Shmeinah Esrei, "Sfasem es tikin la'ad va'ad agia l'shei shoker." And what's my kavana? That there's emes to the avodah. Alter Rebbe is a tzaddik gomer Rebbe anasin neshama klolos. Hareini koirei, I in my davening declare and announce that the avodah of a Beinani is Sfasem es tikin la'ad. Kavos. Because Hoyel sins, there is in the power of the divine soul. Lachzet to come back, will aid and to arouse again. Bechinas ahavalu, the level of this love, le'elam at any time. Behis gabrusa in strengthening it. Bish'asat tefillah, during the davening, midayim b'yim, each individual day. Idea chon hara'uya, through the necessary measure of preparation. L'chol nefesh, to each soul, kifi erka o madregosa, each one according to its measure and its level. Since a yid, who's a Beinani, anytime he wants, can stop his life, focus on Hashem, and develop Hashem and Yiras Hashem. It's not like you're dependent upon somebody else. Anytime you want, you can stop what you're doing and make Hashem and Yiras Hashem. You do it during davening, but you can do it in the middle of playing ball also. So because at any moment you can reawaken the ahava, the passions that you had during davening, you're in control of those passions. Chachafilu, the passions are not consciously constant, but the fact that you're free to inspire at any time makes the ahava emes because of the possibility of it being revealed. And he explains as follows. Kehine midas emes, the measure of truth, and here he doesn't say emes lamid, he says emes. He midas l'she Yankov, it's the measure of Yankov Avinu. What do we know about Yankov Avinu? When he comes b'yechatich, it's called the middle peg, which penetrates from the highest extreme to the lowest extreme, Miruma miles from the highest step and level, Ad Seif Kol Dargin, in the lowest step. Or b'chol mile, in each world, in each step, in each level, Mavriach Toich, it penetrates through Nekuda Amtzah, the central point, Shehi Nekudas, Ubechinas Midas Emes Shalah, which is the point and the measure of truth of that world. Every person has a level of truth. One person's truth, another person's phoniness. Second person's truth, and the third person's phoniness. Every person, as they say in English, does the best they can. When a person reaches the Nekudas Emes of himself, that's his Emes. Says the Alter Rebbe, emes is something that exists everywhere. The lowest person, the simplest person, has an emes that's relative to that lowly person. And this is why, in the world of Beinani, the temporary Aseirus is called emes because of the possibility of the Beinani to re-inspire it at any moment. Umidas emes, because the measure of truth in Nachal Bli Mitzarim is an inheritance that has no boundaries. In other words, it has no limit, as high as it goes, higher and higher. And every step and level lower, compared to the levels and steps of emes above it. But on the other hand, this emes also extends downward. True, compared to a higher level, the lower level is sheket, but compared to that level itself, it's emes. And therefore, I refer to the Aveda of a Beinani as fast emes tikkun la. It's explained in Kabbalah's forum. The top of a lower level, beneath beneath the heels and the feet of the level above themselves. So everything is gradual and relative. In each world, it's much lower than the world above and much higher than the world beneath it, but each world has an Nekuda Emtsois, which is the Nekuda Emes in it. Well, the Gemara says, the lowest Madrega of Malachim is above and compared to the whole Seder Ishtashlis. So what's the Nekuda? The Nekuda is that a human being who tries his best and goes through moments of inspiration and moments of spiritual survival shouldn't feel like there's something wrong with his Avaida. In his world, it's the Madrega of Emes. And you have to also go back to Perek Chaf Ches, where the Beinani thinks that maybe there's something wrong with him. And Alter Rebbe says, no, you're doing your best, and that's all can be expected.